So this is by far my most requested video. How do I train my chatters? What systems do you use? Where do I find them? Blah, 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 blah. It's fine. I'll do it all for you in this video. I'm going to show you specifically the most important systems that you need to put in place for your chatters in order to be making 100K plus per month. Even if you're a zero making 10K plus per month, you're not going to get there unless you have these systems in place. Okay, so I'm going to show you specifically the foundations that you need to teach every single chatter. And before I even start, stop fucking bringing in chatters into your agency that pretty much just tell you that they have experience, that they've worked for this agency, this agency. All they're gonna do is they're gonna come in and they're gonna fucking spam PPVs, use some bullshit techniques some fucking low-life agency has taught them, and it's gonna be useless. Okay, so stop leaving all of the, yeah, I know what I'm doing to the chatters, and instead focus on systems so that everything they learn is directly from you, and anything that any bullshit or whatever, right, they've learned in the past, it could fucking stay there because you don't need that whatsoever. All right. And before I get to the actual main part of the video and showing the blueprint, the foundations, you need to watch my inflow scripts video, because that pretty much will show you how to set it up on inflow. But this is basically just a guideline. So this is where you have the chatters in front of you. You need to teach them these basics before they can start doing anything on inflow, before they can start doing anything like freestyling or anything like that. They need to know the absolute basics, okay? Another thing I want to mention is, I know you guys have been asking me to help you out a lot, especially when it comes to, you know, like the chatting side or the agency side. But honestly, most of this I've learned pretty much on my own or from other people or just online in general, okay? So I'm gonna politely ask you guys to stop being fucking idiots sometimes, asking me stupid questions like, how do I even download inflow? That was the fucking stupidest thing I've ever got, right? Like, if it's absolute basic knowledge that is a fucking Google search away, don't ask people, all right? Especially guys who are putting content out there in order for other agency owners to learn, because they're gonna read that and think, fuck me, I'm not gonna work with you if you can't even figure out the absolute basics, all right? Anyways, that's just my little rant. Let's get on with the video. Okay, so I'm not gonna waste too much time. I'm pretty much just gonna get straight to the point. All right, so these are the very basics that you need to actually go over, right? And if you watch my inflow scripts video, you pretty much know how to set these up, okay? But you are pretty much teaching the chatters the absolute fundamentals before they can actually progress in order to freestyle and so on, okay? So as a reference, when I take on new chatters, right, they pretty much have zero experience, and then I teach them the absolute basics, and all of these I've already put into actual drop and play like scripts on the actual inflow, where they just click, put it in, and they only use that until they are absolutely comfortable with the, getting to know how it works, the actual setup, how to go from new subscriber to in position, pull push, and obviously into the script. Okay, so what I'm going to go over is, this is what you need to be teaching your chatters, right? Just these. And these happen before any of the sales happen. So when you are actually bringing in a new fan, right, a new subscriber comes in, you're going to go through with them the new subscriber questions, which are 6 that I've pretty much just put here. And you're going to frame them in a sense of like question and answer, so that the chatter pretty much sends a question, the fan will say something, and then they pretty much have a go-to reply they can go with that pretty much like falls in line with what the fan could possibly say, okay? And then after they do that, that's good. You pretty much have all the data on the fan, so the chatter is pretty much taking all the notes, and then they can move on to the next phase, which is the imposition, okay? And the most important part about the whole 6 questions before I get to the imposition is the fact that when you have all the data about the fan, and the fan actually feels like they've built a genuine connection with this model, okay? And that's completely different from their experience with other OF models, simply because as soon as they come in, they might get 1 or 2 questions, and then it's boom, it's straight up to, PPV time, right? Which is not the road we want to go down, okay? So if we go down this way, at least the fan feels like they're actually building a connection with the model, meaning most likely to actually buy something, okay? And that's why my chatter conversions are 75 to 80% plus, okay? Now, Now, after they do their new sub questions, they pretty much will do something in position, which is just to see, is the fan actually in a correct place in order to actually buy a script? If they're at work, then no, we can't sell them a script. Okay, but if they're at home chilling in bed or whatever, then we can sell them a script. Okay. And in between, like, you're going to use the technique called pull and push. And I'm going to go into that a little bit more into the video, but it's a very, very important, like, part of the whole fucking, fundamentals, because without this, you pretty much are not building any kind of foundation before you can actually sell a script. Okay. And also guilt trips, just in case they don't want to buy anything and so on. All right. So you're going to set all these up on inflow. So it looks like just the scripts. And then the chatters can pretty much go through each one. Okay. And before the chatters start to freestyle, you're going to go through all of these with them. So they're only going to use these. And if you notice that your chatter is tending to freestyle a little bit more, that's when you come in and tell them, no, you're not fucking ready for that. That's only once you have mastered the basics. Okay. Now, the new subscriber questions. Okay. So when the fan comes in, he must have seen your model from a reel, from a TikTok, from Reddit, wherever the fuck they came from. Okay. But they are at the very, very peak of interest and curiosity. Okay. They're going to see the fans' pictures and videos that she's posted on the wall. And bear in mind, I want to make this very clear. Do not put any fucking nudes or like playing or anything crazy on the actual wall, because at that point, why is the fan going to spend any money when he's basically seen all of that for free, or even the fucking subscription price? Doesn't make sense. So if he sees the model just in, like, just lingerie or whatever, the curiosity is still going. Okay, so when they actually reply or when they open up, you can pretty much, the chatter's job is to hit them up with the new subscriber. Okay, so the first one, the chatter's going to send this immediately. Okay, you can rewrite this how you want, but that's basically the framework of it. So question one, hey, sorry, just seen this. I'm model name. Let's just call her Alexa. What should I call you? All right. So what could a fan possibly respond to, being asked what his name is? He's just going to fucking say a name. Even if it gives you a fake one or whatever, he's going to say a name. Okay. Let's just say his name's John, right? So the reply would be, cool, I'm glad you're polite unlike the other guys on here. But this is where you train the chatter. Okay, so this is the absolute foundation. And what you would ask the chatter to do is you pretty much just say, aha, cool, John. Okay, and move on, right? So that you have to make sure that the fan is heard absolutely all the time, because you don't want him to think that this is a script. Okay, so as you're training the chatters, you're giving them the foundation. Now it's their job to build on it, because eventually that's going to get them ready to freestyle. Okay, so they pretty much just add something to the start of the script or change it up or whatever, right? Now the next question you want to ask, and bear in mind the chatters have to put this in the notes. So if they say their name is John, edit it and change it in the notes. Okay. Next one, age. Question. By the way, I'm only, let's say the model's 18. I'm 18. What about you? I feel like you're older, younger, whichever road you want to go down. Okay. Based on the vibe that the chatter gets. The reply. So what could they possibly say to that? They're going to say, I'm 27, I'm fucking 40, I'm 50, whatever, right? So you could just, the chat will hit reply next. So I was right. I was thinking, that'll make things interesting. Okay. Or you can add to it. They can add to it. I was right. Let's just say the fan says he's 40. Okay. So the chatter would add something like, 40. Never been with an older guy before. That makes things interesting. So you see what I mean? You are built pretty much like setting the framework for the actual chatter. And all they're doing is just adding little. Now, this is completely the best way to train them compared to just, letting them fucking run freely on an account with no guidance or whatever. All right. So at least with this, they are sticking to the script every single time, but adding what they need to. Okay. You might think, oh, these are good enough just to, plug and play and just fucking send it and send it. Right. But the big issue with that is the fan eventually, as you go down these, right, if you just sending them as they are, they will pretty much understand that it's a script or it looks scripted and they don't feel heard. And it feels like a one-way conversation, which you do not want, no matter what. Okay? Now, age, you put it into the fucking notes. Okay. Location. Low-key wishing we were in the same city. I'm in, let's just say, Texas. What about you? They're gonna say, oh, I'm in fucking Florida, I'm in England, whatever the fuck they say, right? Okay, I see it. I feel like you should come here along, I promise to show you around. Okay, where could the chatter actually add to it, right? This is all part of the training. Okay, so you can just put, I've actually never been to. Okay, but that's all it is. Okay, so every single time the chat is specifically replying to what the guy actually says. Okay, and then you are pretty much like making the fan feel heard. Okay, so the chatters are pretty much replying to everything they say, making them feel heard. Now it's a two-way conversation. All right, so this is what you need to be covering in the actual training instead of just, yeah, this is what you need to do. I've already put the script, just fucking send it. Okay, no, you want to teach them in the first lesson just to kind of always reply. Next one, work, hobbies, and reply. Okay, I'm still in college, by the way, whatever the model's occupation is. What about you? You sound like a firefighter or something. Again, you don't have to fucking copy these exactly. I wrote them from scratch. These are not what mine are like, but it's pretty much close. Okay, and you just kind of want to make a guess or make it interesting or something. Okay, and the reply, they could possibly just say, "Yeah, I work in office or I do whatever fucking shit that they do." Okay, and then see, I want to guess that. Still, I think I distract you if I pull push. Now, the pull push, we'll come back to this fucking point, okay? Because that's an important technique. But you can always get the chatter to actually reply with something like, see, you don't sound like a, let's just say, fucking doctor, right? Wouldn't have guessed that. Still distract you, but we'll come back to that. Okay. Again, work hobbies, you put it in the notes. All of this becomes completely useless if the chatters are not putting anything in the notes, because in the next shift, a chatter should be able to go into that fucking page, that chat, and actually know everything about the fan. Okay. And bear in mind, the chatter's having this conversation with the fan, and they haven't been sold anything yet. Okay. You're thinking, oh, I want to make money quick. Stop being a fucking idiot. All right. Have a system in place, because if you go down this road, you are pretty much lubing the fan up to actually spend. Okay. You don't want to let the fan see the sales knife. So if I've got a fucking blade, a sales blade, right? If I come directly at you, you fucking see it coming. You have time to think, whatever. If you don't see it coming, and there you go. You'll get a kill, right? So it's the exact same fucking scenario here. You don't want them to see the sales blade, okay? So you're making them think that they're just getting to know a girl and vibing, blah, blah, blah. And then when the time to actually sell the script comes, boom, you can fucking get them. All right? Now, preferences. They say, you want to say, since you're here, what do you actually find attractive about me? Now, this will let you gauge what the actual fan likes. Let's say, for example, he likes feet, fucking weirdos. Like they like, her face, her hair, whatever. You want to put it down, okay? And then the reply, the chatter would just pretty much add something like, my body, huh? That's it. And I guess I can show you more of that. Okay, so now you've generated interest. You know what the fan likes. So if they don't like something, not to send them that. But if they like this, you can fucking send them that. Okay, put it in the notes. Kinks and reply. Last question. You might have to make it more interesting. What are your kinks? And this is where they'll say some fucked up shit or some very tame shit, right? You need to teach the chatters that this is a normal part of the job. Okay, they need to know this and they need to use this as their advantage. Okay, because with this, they pretty much know what the fan likes and they can use it against them. All right, so let's just say the guy likes pulling hair. Okay, you can pretty much just tell the chatter to add something here. Add my pulled. Okay. And now you're going to get them excited. You say in a while or ever, haven't had my hair pulled ever, blah, blah, blah. Guess teach me a few things. This, now you've opened it up to actual fucking playing, right? You've gone from 0 to 100 and you've done it steadily, okay? So if you have the framework like this, in what fucking world is the chatter going to be shit? They're not going to be shit because you pretty much set this all up for them, okay? And if you have all of this set up completely for them, then, and all they need to do is add a tiny little fucking edits, then it makes it so much easier for you actually to make the sales and for the conversation to flow smoothly, and most importantly, for it all to sound the same. So if you have multiple chatters, it's all going to sound the same, okay? Because why? Because they're all playing the role of one model, right? Now, that's the 6 questions in the notes. We've gone over that, rewatched that part again and again and again, use the examples, whatever. Next part, imposition, okay? We want to know, is the fan actually in position, right? And there's only certain places where the model can do a script. So in position means, is the fan at work or is he at home? Is he able to play with himself and so on, right? Or not, okay? You only kind of need 3 because whichever one you pick is the script that the model's gonna, the chatter's actually gonna try and sell. Okay, so if they want to sell the shower script, they're gonna send the imposition for the shower. If they want to sell bedroom script, whatever, right? If you can think of any more scenarios, you can fucking add them up. So for example, just go with bedroom. I'm in bed right now, had a long day, but still got some energy. What about you? Okay, so you don't want to say directly, what are you doing right now? Because how a fan sees that is, are you ready for me to sell you something? Okay, that's how a fan will actually read it, right? But if you phrase it like this, it makes it so that you keep the fucking sales blade hidden. You know what I mean? Like fucking Aikido and shit, right? Keep it hidden. That was actually a fun little. Oh god, that was funny. Anyways, fucking back to the point. Right, you want to pretty much just pick one and go on. Okay, shower one. I'm about to have a shower. Might bring you with me since you want to distract me. Blah blah blah. Okay, and that's when your fan is going to tell you if they are either in position or if they're not. They'll say, "Oh no, I'm at work. We'll do it later." And if they're not in position, the chatter needs to be trained to say, "Yeah, no problem. We can actually just, um, you know, talk about it later, or we can actually just talk later when you're home." Blah blah blah. Okay, and you pretty much just mark it and make sure you have a different chatter later on if it's a different shift to actually do a script with them. Okay. Now the pull and push method, which is the most important skill. Okay. Now the description of this is actually being able to pull the fan in with a flirty comment in relation to whatever they say, and then pushing them away with a generic question. Okay, now you're going to put them into a limbo of flirting just so that you can set the stage for a script. Okay, now this is essentially just teaching chatters how to flirt. Because if you're hiring from the Philippines or wherever else you're hiring, teaching them how to actually flirt is by far the hardest thing you'll fucking do. Okay, yeah, you think everyone knows how to flirt, but some may be good, some maybe not. Okay, it's not like you're hiring robots, you're hiring real people with different experiences. Okay, so this is just a way to, with every single person that comes into your agency, they could pretty much learn. All right, now here's an example of it. When a fan replies about their work and their hobbies, right, you want to do the pull and push about here. So you want to pull them in with a comment, okay? So still, I'd distract you if I, for example, use a doctor, came in to your hospital, a short skirt. Okay, so you pull them in. Pulling them in pretty much just means you are kind of building an imagination of what's to come. Okay, you want them to actually fantasize about the model, like actually come into their work and so on, right? Why? Because this is bringing in an emotional connection. You're making them feel like it's real and it could happen. And you are setting the model in their mind, which makes them even more curious. So you're keeping a curiosity loop over and over again. Okay. Now what you want to do is you want to push them away. Okay. So pushing them away just means asking a generic question or just a generic statement. So anyways, How long have you been a doctor for? Okay, so put it all together. Still distract you if I came to your hospital in a short skirt. Anyways, how long have you been a doctor for? Okay, so I pulled them in with their curiosity. Now their mind's fucking thinking about it. And then you ask them a generic question. So they'll just be like, yeah, I've actually been a doctor for about, 20 years. Wait, what did you say about the whole skirt thing? Now he's thinking about it. Okay. And that sets in perfectly when it comes to actually like doing the whole preferences and replies and so on. Okay. So this is the best way in order to do that. Next point. Again, just rewatch this video over and over again. You'll fucking understand it. Okay. So here's an example, another example template. If I came in wearing a short skirt while you are, at your office, or if I was your secretary at your office, you wouldn't be able to focus. Anyways, how long have you been doing that? That's pretty much just use that as a fucking template and change it up. Okay. Now, finally, guilt trips. Okay. So this is like already made templates you want to have for different scenarios. One of them, ghosted, meaning they just left you on red. Okay. If you try to send a PPV. So you want to have like 2 or 3 ghosted examples in the actual inflow scripts. And it'll be something like, what, I'm not good enough for you to actually reply. Okay. Because the worst thing that could happen is a chatter sends a PPV, you get ignored, and the chatter doesn't say anything, and the conversation is dead. How the fuck are they supposed to open it up again next? Okay, they can't. So unless this is kind of like a last ditch attempt to actually get them to reply, maybe they didn't refresh, maybe they had their attention stolen by a different model and so on. This pretty much just brings them back. Okay. And you want to strike at their ego without mentioning anything to do with like their poor or they can't afford it, anything like that. Okay. Because if you do that, you're just going to piss the fan off and they're going to fuck off. All right. But if you actually strike at the ego and entice them, they're most likely to buy. Another example, first PPV fails. Fucking it's in the name. If the first PPV sell, actually just they don't buy it. You want to remind them pretty much of how the whole interaction has been so far. So you got to know each other. You've actually, done a back and forth. You flirted, and now you're not what they thought they were. So you want to highlight it. Thought you were actually into me. Guess this proves you never were. Right? When you say that, they're gonna read that and think, oh fuck, like Again, bear in mind this will not work 100% of the time, but it'll work most of the time. So you might as well, right? And it's a lot better than fucking having nothing. Okay. And the fan will reflect and think, you know what, we have actually a really good experience. So, and then even if they don't buy, at least if they actually give a reason for why they don't buy, you can put it in the notes. They don't get paid till Friday. This doesn't happen, whatever. Put it in the actual notes section. Okay. So that when the time comes, you are always following up and chasing that lead. Okay. Mid PPV fail. If you're mid script, they don't buy. Please don't stop. I really want this to be an experience we both won't forget. So just remind them all the benefits of like what's to come in the future. You can always dangle a carrot in front of them. You can say, oh, I really wanted to do a FaceTime after, even though they're never going to fucking get it, right? They're never going to FaceTime the model. But you can just say shit like this, right? In order to get them to fucking buy. Final PPV fail. I actually won't forget if you don't finish with me, okay? The final PPV, if they don't want to unlock it, it's literally the easiest one to actually change their mind because they're almost there, right? Everyone wants to finish. Like once someone starts a job, they want to fucking get it done. Okay, so you pretty much just can send them something like this, or you want to tell them like, I promise if you open this, like we'll do this, blah, 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 and so on. Okay. And that's pretty much the framework that you want to teach your chatters in the training. Okay. And this is just the absolute basics. If I really wanted to show you absolutely everything you should teach the chatter, all I have to do is scroll for the next 22 pages because I pretty much like, my training is very extensive and I train my chatters 5 times a week, personally myself, right? Only 30 minutes, banging out, banging out, banging out. Simply because I want them to be the best and they are the fucking best. Honestly, I've never seen chatters that are actually better than mine. And, oh, how big-headed of you, King, to actually fucking say that. I know so. Because I've been to many different inflow accounts. I've seen their chatting. Mine are simply the best because I act like they're the best and I train them like they're the best and I make sure that nothing is left on the fucking table. Okay, I think of every scenario and I fucking teach them. Okay, and that's how you have to be. If you want to win, there's fucking intense competition going on. There's people working harder than you, and that you want to fucking slack on the one part that actually like brings in all the money. Yeah, fucking hell, I'll bring loads of traffic. If you're not making sales, if your conversions are 20%, who gives a fuck how much traffic you make, right? How much traffic comes in, who gives a fuck? If you can't convert into actual sales, you're not making money. Simple as. Okay. So this is the absolute basics. Again, watch my inflow vid, set this all up on inflow, right? And then from that point, you pretty much need to be teaching these chatters everything, especially on like adding in the in-betweens. Okay. So now it sets them up to actually do the script. Okay. So you've done all this. What you want to do next is actually like the actual scripts part. Again, watch my inflow vid. It's all there. And if you guys want like fucking free scripts or whatever, just hit me up on Telegram. I'll give it to you. But that's pretty much it. And that's it. That's all you need to know in order to actually make your chatting systems 10 times better. All right. Just get these basics in, put them into your systems for like scripts and so on. Teach your chatters and you just watch the money come in. It's as simple as that. The biggest issue with other agencies is they are focused on selling, 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 and nothing to do with actual personal relationships with the actual customers and clients, which is fans. Even though I fucking hate the fans because they're all low-life degenerates, like these will actually make you a fuck ton of money, all right? So stop focusing on everything else. Stop focusing on mass message PPVs and loads of different other fucking sales techniques and shit, and master the absolute fundamentals and the basics, okay? And with your chatters, this isn't a one-time, I'll train you for an hour in a week and then you're done, okay? Because you're just fucking setting yourself up for failure at that point, right? What you actually need to do is be going over the basics, new sales techniques, applying them to the whole OF management, and teaching your chatters at least 3 times per week for 30 minutes a day, minimum, okay? So if you do that, and if you do it successfully, you will literally see your chatters progressively get better and better. And for example, my agency, we hold a conversion rate, right, of 75 to 80% of unlock rate, all right? What other fucking agency could tell you that? I know this specifically. If you think, oh, why am I gonna listen to you? It's because I've been teaching other agencies how to chat for a very fucking long time. Sales is my forte, especially when it comes to chatting. That's what I'm good at, so I'm just gonna show you, okay? And this is why this is my most requested video. All right, so put this in, find yourself some chatters, actually teach them the fundamentals before they start to freestyle, and they will progressively get better and better and better. And then from that point, you'll see your sales increase. Then you can expand, then you can get more models on and so on. But that's not gonna happen if you can't even, master the actual fundamentals of chatting, which is this. Okay, and you're not gonna see any videos like this on YouTube of other guys. Trust me, I've had a look. All of their fucking, chatting techniques and sales techniques are bullshit. I'll be honest, they're straight up bullshit, simply because it's like the absolute basic, oh, you need to build a relationship with them. You need to do, but they don't show you how. They don't show you what messages you need to send. They don't show you the sequences. They don't show you how to actually make the chatters' lives and your lives a billion times easier, okay? So, again, we have a free Telegram channel in the link below. You could pretty much reach out to myself and Sam there. Any questions, any help you need is going to be there. I should have been making more videos, but simply I'm working on new projects and my schedule's been a little bit crazy at the minute. But if you guys want to do like a free one-on-one call or whatever, I'm not going to charge you a fucking course or anything, because I just don't have the fucking time for that, all right? So if you guys actually want to reach out to us, just please don't ask us stupid questions. We'll be more than happy to help you. All right, see you in the next vid.